All right, so sharing the screen. I'll just right away go for the official site. Maybe you know, it's called Cisia. So Cisia is the site where there is a test, basically company that provides the test for the Italian government. And previously there was TOLC, right? TOLC is kind of, Italian entrance test, and it was like type of TOLCs. I think there are like more than 7 type of TOLCs. And previously, like last year's, there was entrance exam and it was called TOLC. And of course, in origin, it was in Italian language, but they used to translate it to English. And if you were about to apply last year, you were supposed to take TOLC-I, like English TOLC-I, English TOLC-F, and English TOLC-E. But this year, they kind of, combine this test to one, and they call it CEnT. Okay, this is not CEnT. Like in Italian, like C is pronounced as chi, and yeah, they call it CEnT. So this is like general info about it. And let me translate it in English. Let me see if we can do it. Okay, perfect. So they are telling that the CEnT is the new unified test of Cisia in English. Basically, it's designed for the international students who wants to apply for the English taught programs, right? And CEnT is the combination of 3 exams. So here are the previous 3 exams: English TOLC-I, English TOLC-F, and English TOLC-E. So the test itself is just a combination of those 3, but there is a little difference between the sections, and we'll see a little later. There are 2 types to take this test. The first one is CEnT University, and the second one is CEnT Home. CEnT University is designed for those who are residing, who are living in Italy. So who has like access to come to university and to give the test offline. For those who are out of Italy, out of Europe, for those who don't have opportunity to come to Italy to take the test, they designed the online test. So it's called CEnT Home. So it's pretty much similar as SAT Home and as TOEFL Home. Like most probably you're familiar with those exams. And in order to book a test, first you have to decide which one you want to take. For example, I think like most of you are not in Italy. First of all, you have to decide which type of test you want to take. Most of you are international students, so you're not in Italy, and most probably you're gonna take TOLC online. But there are like, I think like some part of you guys, out of like how many we are 54, like some of you are like foundation students and you are already in Italy, right? So in your case, you have a choice. So you can take CEnT University or you can take CEnT Home. So basically it doesn't matter. You can choose online and you can choose to go to university and to give the test in university. Like my advice for you, like my recommendation is to go like in person. If you have opportunity to go to university and take it like offline, it's better to do it, because in online, it's a little bit hard because it takes time for them to check all the participants. So here are the macro periods. It says that you can take CEnT, basically you can take your test only once per 1 macro period. For example, there are 4 macro periods, I think November, December, January. This one is the first one. Then you have February, March. This is the second macro period. Then you have April, May, June, and the last one. So let me see if I can take notes. Maybe it will be more clear for you. So let me write 1, 2, 3, 4. So for those who, for international students, for non-European students, I think you have those 2 macro periods to give the test, because most of the universities close deadlines for non-European universities, for non-European students. Like the deadlines are around April, like at best case is May. So you're really recommended to take the test in those 2 macro periods. For those who are like European students, not necessarily that you live in Italy, but maybe you live in other European country, but still you're residing in Europe. In this case, you have these 2 options as well. So like shortly telling that if you're non-European students, you have less time to prepare and less time to take the test. If you're European students, you've got more time to prepare and more opportunities to retake the test. And for example, let's imagine that you want to take the exam in the first macro period. let's imagine you decided to take it at November. So you've taken it at November. I think like the exam was on 27th November. By the way, I took it. And I think there are like students who already take it in this meeting. So you will not have opportunity to take it at December, or you will not have opportunity to take it at January because it is considered as a first macro period. So if you already have taken test at November, if you want to retake it, you have to wait until the second macro period, which starts at February. Yeah, this is how it is. For those who haven't yet booked the test, we'll go for the site and we'll see the dates, what are the available dates. But for now, like to tell you, there are no available dates. We are hoping that there could be more places. Some universities still, we are waiting for some universities that will apply, that will provide places for the January and December sessions, but it's not yet clear. And yeah, if you want to book it, for now, there are no available places, but you have to check the site in order to see when they will be out. The bookings for the second macro period will open, I think, after January session will end. After some time, they will open bookings for the February and March. So in the second macro period, there is like less time. There is only 2 months. So there's going to be, I think, only 2 dates, like one in February, should be in the middle of February, and another should be like in the middle of March. So in the case if you're European students, like you could be more chill since you have let's say 4 chances, 4 macro periods to retake, but it's still recommended for you to take it earlier because the earlier you take the test, the more chances you have to retake the test, right? For example, if you're taking it in December, and let's imagine that you don't really like your score, maybe it was like less than what you expected, you can retake it at February, and then maybe at February again, you didn't score, you could retake it at April. So by this, you have more opportunities. And this is really what recommended for European students, not to delay the preparation, not to delay the giving a test, but to book it and give it as soon as possible. All right, and here are the dates, by the way. Let me see. I think this is a link for... All right, should be here. So, I think a couple of days ago, guys, you were writing in the group that some university added some places, but in a couple of minutes, it were out. Like all like bookings were closed in a couple of minutes. So that's why you have to be really looking for this site. Maybe I'll share the link right now. So general recommendation is to check the time like at least like 2-3 times per day to not to miss the opportunity where the new university will provide the dates, right? So this is the general recommendation. About the retaking, I already mentioned that you can take it only once per macro period. About the payment, it's 55 euros. You could pay like with a normal, Visa card. You just write the number of Visa card and you pay it. Should not be a problem. Also, it works for MasterCard and for, I think, like it also works for the PayPal, if I'm not wrong. But the normal card should be fine. Like all of you most probably have the Visa card and you just write the number and you provide, you paid it. The only thing is that you need to turn on the online buying, like in the settings of your banking, you should turn on the online payments. So it will not block the payment. But in general, it's easy to pay with card, so it should not be a problem. All right, in order to book the test, you have to open an account in Cisia. So let me see if I can. All right, on the right top, right here, you will see Cisia student area. This is where you have to go. And here, for example, if you already have an account, you just sign in. If you don't have an account, you have to sign up. So you have to create an account. Since I already have an account, I'll just sign in. And this is how it looks. And from your personal account, you can book the test. For example, if you click here, you have the choice to book offline and online, right? In this video, I will not book the test because in order to book the test, I have to write the date of my cards and so on and so forth. So I'll upload the similar video on booking the TOLC-I test. So it's very similar to booking TOLC-I. Everything is similar. Okay, also here you'll be having your test certificate. So if you go somewhere over here, test results, and these all the data of your test. For example, I've taken TOLC-I, I think 4 times, and on 27th I've taken the CEnT-S, and here you have your certificate with your score, and then you have performance list with the number of topics that you received on your test, and this is really good feedback for you for those guys who already taken the test. So you receive these type of subjects, these type of questions like geometry, functions, and so on and so forth, and they're listening you, and they're basically tracking your performance. And this is really good feedback for you to see on which, let's say, on which areas you've made mistakes, and maybe you can work on those areas, and later you could prepare better. Okay, here they are talking about normalization scores. Normalization, basically, they will calculate your score. There is opportunity that your score might increase and might decrease after the average score of the session. And once the normalized score will be out, this is the official score. For now, what I have here, this certificate is not official. I cannot apply with the certificate to university, but I have to wait my official score once the normalization will end. And maybe I'll try to explain you what's the normalization. All right, let's imagine, I don't know, that 100 students have taken the test in November session, or I don't know, in December session, right? And let's imagine that the maximum mark of the TOLC of the CEnT-S is 55 out of 55, right? This is maximum score the student can take if he chooses to pass all 5 sections. And then let's imagine that there is some average score which Cisia fixed, right? It could be 50%, it could be 60%, it could be 40%, we don't know, because they are fixing the average. And then they are computing expected average, what they fixed, with the real average, what they computed. For example, out of 100 students, if they compute average score, let's imagine it would be somewhere around, I don't know, 17 out of 55. So if the average score is less than expected average score, it means that the test was hard because most of the students failed. Look, most of the students around this mark. It means that the test is hard. That's why, in order to be fair, they will increase the scores. The normalization score will be upward. For example, let's imagine a particular case. We take out of these 100 students, we take a student, his name is Mario. And we consider his score, I don't know, maybe he scored around 29 out of 55, let's say. Right? Since the average of 100 students is 17 out of 55, his score is above average, right? And after computing the average, there is going to be some coefficient. Let me say this is K. And for example, 29 out of 55, this is the score, I write S. And this is coefficient, it could be greater than 1, it could be less than 1. In this case, since the exam was hard and most of the students failed, the coefficient is going to be greater than 1. So let me write greater than 1, and then K multiplied by S. This is final score. Basically, if it's more than 1, let's imagine it 1 point, I don't know, 1. So if you multiply 1.1 by 29, your score is going to increase, I don't know, well, not computed, but it will increase. So there is a chance for you guys that if you've taken a test and you're disappointed with your results, there is still a chance that it could be increased for a couple of points. Of course, it's not going to be significant increase by 20 points or by 15 points, but still it's good that there is opportunity that you could get more than what you got. This is the first page. Let me see if we give more. Now, in this section, I think there is a structure of the test. So as I've shared previously, CEnT-S is just the combination of the previous 3 tests, TOLC-I, TOLC-F, and TOLC-E. So TOLC-I was for engineering, TOLC-E was for economics, and TOLC-F was for the pharmacy, like related studies. And since they combined it, now this is the sections of the test. So there are 5 sections. There are mathematics, reasoning on text and data, biology, chemistry, and physics. So there is no reading section anymore. Maybe it might sound strange, but for those who were struggling with English, right? For those who really don't have like good proficiency of English, that's the good news that there is no reading anymore, because reading part was a little hard because you have to read the text and answer the question. And if your English ability sucks, then the score is not going to be good. So since there is no reading part, it's good for those who are not fluent in English. So, but on the other hand, there are like more sections. So for example, I'm pretty sure you are seeing like biology, chemistry, and physics, and you are shocked. Like, do I have to do them, right? But for now, it's not clear that if you have to do all 5 of them, like if you try to think logically, it's not really what they are asking from you. The test itself, let me do the screen. I'm back. So there are 5 sections. Let me list them: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the maximum score is 55, but actually it's like individual, the maximum score. Like it's not necessarily that you must take all the sections and you must score 55 out of 55. So every university will specify which sections they will consider. But for now, it's not yet clear because it will be in the call of application. Let me write call of applications. Unfortunately, call of applications is not yet out. So you have to wait until around January, February, until they will release the call of application. For now, it's not yet 100% information, but like from my experience, what I think is that for those who are planning to study, I don't know, who are planning to study social sciences, maybe economy, maybe management, maybe business, those type of related things, last year you would do TOLC-E. So in TOLC-E, let me write TOLC-E. So to be more specific, I'll write English TOLC-E. And it was consisting out of 3 sections. There was math, there was logic, and there was reading. Since there is no reading in the CEnT-S, you can forget about reading. And in TOLC-E, since there was math and logic, most probably they're going to consider the same section as TOLC-E. So most probably you'll have to do only those 2 out of 5. All right, now let me write for those who is planning to study engineering, I know computer science, or all this related stuff. If you're applying last year, you would have to do TOLC-I. To be more specific, English TOLC-I. So there was 4 sections. Let me write, it was math, logic, science, and reading. So we forget about reading since there is no reading. And in the science, like the science section in TOLC-I, it was the mix of questions, like chemistry and physics. And most probably, because this is just replacement of the TOLC-I, right? They're going to consider those sections as they considered before, right? So then in this case, you would have to do everything except biology. Well, let me write that. Let me write like this. So if you combine all the sections, basically what you have TOLC-I. Of course, I mean, there is some difference in syllabus, but we'll see it later. And for those who are doing TOLC-F, it's not yet clear because like TOLC-F, there was like 5 sections, and most probably you will have to do 5 sections, but it's not yet clear. But like logically for TOLC-E and for TOLC-I, this is what is going to happen. The next part is the syllabus of the test. Before going to the syllabus, we already figured out what's the normalization, and I'll just spend like 1-2 minutes on explaining how the score system works. So let me go back here and then write scoring. So it's a little bit strange, but in this test, there are like 5 possible choices. Like usually in the normal test, it used to be 4, but in the CEnT, there is 5 possible choices like A, B, C, D, and E, right? So not 4, but 5. So since there is more possible choices, it's harder for you to guess. And itself, like the test itself is harder because it has more possible choices. So if you close your eye and you take a random guess, there is like 0.20 that your score is going to be correct, that your guess is going to be right, which is the same as 20%, right? So 20% of guessing rate is not that really good as it used to be like 25 when you had 4 possible choices. So this is like encourages for you not to guess. If you don't know the answer, it's better to leave answer unmatched, like unanswered. But there is another thing that actually forces for you to forces you to not to guess. So let me write penalties. So in CEnT, for every wrong answer, so let me write for every, someone is still joining, I'll accept. For every wrong answer, they subtract like 0.25 out of your overall score. For example, let's imagine you pass your test. Let's say you answered 54 correct answers and 1 wrong. So let me write 54 correct and 1 wrong. So in this case, like in a normal test, your score would be 54 out of 55. But in the case of CEnT, your score will be 54 minus 0.25 because you had 1 wrong answer, and for every wrong answer, there is penalty. So your score is going to be somewhere around 53.75 out of 55. So for example, if you take 4 wrong answers, they're going to subtract -1 from your score. Overall, what I recommend you to do if you don't know the answer, right? Do not guess, because if you guess, you're gonna go like for the negative score. Like one of the time, like I saw the scores. I know last year it was TOLC-I, and one student, like not my student, but one of the students whom I saw, he scored like negative score. It was like minus 0.625. So like that's why it's better for you not to guess if you don't know the answer. But if you can eliminate, I will not introduce what's the educated guess, but so if you know how to do educated guess, you're welcome to do it. But if you don't know how to eliminate the problems, it's better not to guess. So that's it. All right. So let me see where we stopped. Here it is. Here, you'll find like the detailed syllabus for all 5 sections. For example, this is the syllabus for maths, and I think there is around 7 major sections of maths. Like it starts with numbers, then it goes for the basic algebra, then there is geometry, functions, exponential and logarithms. I had a lot of problems on exponential and logarithms on my test. I had a lot of problems with functions, and I had like 2 or 3 problems on combinatorics. I think I've prepared like a couple of problems we could solve today. Like by the end of the meeting, we'll have like around 10 minutes to try to solve some problems so you could see the difficulty of the test. Then there are like a lot of problems on statistics, a lot. So in maths and also on reasoning on text and data, you're gonna get like statistics problems. So reasoning on text, this is like fancy way of telling logic, and reasoning on data, this is like fancy way of telling statistics. So reasoning on text and data basically is the same as logic and statistics. And here is the syllabus for it. So you'll start with figuring out what's the logic, like introduction to logic, what's the deductive reasoning, Then these are the possible topics. I think like the most like difficult part of logic is to understand what's the statement, how to negate the statement, how to convert the statements. So once you mastered like the basics of the logic, it's not going to be that hard because everything starts with like understanding how to work with statements, how to denote, maybe how to, I don't know, use symbols instead of words, and to make reasoning on, I don't know, on statements. Then the next part, like more advanced part, is where you have to do like interpretation and manipulation of data. So you're gonna get some tables, you're gonna get some graphs, you're gonna get some, I don't know, pie charts and so on and so forth. And from this, you have to extract information. And of course, you need to you need to have problem solving, because there was like many exercise, like many of my questions, I think like more than 4 or 5 out of 15, there was like problem solving. So for example, there was a problem on clock, there was a problem on like runner. These are like, real world problems where you have to like be logical, try to figure out what's the optimal solution and how to solve this problem. All right, and these are the sections like syllabus for biology. This is like basic syllabus. Then you have chemistry. Then you have physics. Actually, it's a lot to study, but usually the questions is not that hard. From what I experience is like pretty much the same as TOLC-I. And in TOLC-I, like the physics and chemistry was like basic chemistry and basic physics. So what you were like supposed to study at, I don't know, in the 9th, 10th grade of the school. So, all right. Just wanna give you the priorities. So priority of the test is to be good at math and be good at like reasoning on text and data, because like most of the score is coming from these two sections. Like there are 15 questions on math and you can earn 15 points. And there are 15 questions on reasoning on text and data and you can earn 15 points. So like overall from math and reasoning, you could earn 30 points. So this is like the main, let's say, portion of your grade. Then you have biology, chemistry. It's not for all. And then you have physics, where you have only 5 questions. So if you're preparing for the test, you have to prioritize yourself which section should be in priority. So you should spend more time on those sections. All right, I think we're done. So let me see if I miss out something. The dates, I've mentioned about the dates. And these are, like for now, these are the universities that actually confirmed that they will accept these tests. So there is University of Sapienza, Politecnico di Milano, Trento, so on and so forth. So you could see this list later. I think like with time, more universities will join here. They're updating the site every 7 days. I think every 7 days, they like one by one, there will be more universities. Right, now I think you could spend around 10 minutes to trying to solve problems from the test. So what do you think? I'll share the screen. It will go like this. I'll share the screen and I'll give you some time. Usually on the test, it's given only 2 minutes for one problem, but since like this is your first time, um, I can give you more time. I will give you around like 3 or 4 minutes. So try to prepare like, I don't know, paper and pen, so you can write down the problem and you can solve it. The first problem is the problem on logarithm. This is the math problem. So let's start with it. It's pretty simple. If you know logarithm, I mean, you could solve it like in 20 seconds. All right, for those who will watch this recording on YouTube, feel free to pause the video and you can take more time than 3 or 4 minutes to think about this problem. And then, yeah. So once you solve the problem, please send your answer as a private message. So like in the Zoom, there is a section where you can send your answer as a not public message, but the private message, so other could not see it and you'll not spoil for others. Thanks. I think I received 20 answers out of 50. So if you haven't yet answered, please send me your answers. Okay, I think we could start solving this problem together. Before solving it, because I'm not sure if all of you know what's the logarithms, because many of you did mistakes, I'll just do the small recap what the logarithm is and how to solve this problem. So in a normal problem in exponential, because logarithm is just continuing of exponents. So if you have 2 to the power of 5, what does it mean? It means that 2 multiplied by itself five times, right? And it's unknown. So the result is unknown. And the result of 2 to the power of 5, it gives you 32. Basically, if you take 2 and multiply by itself 5 times, the answer is 32. But what if you have this type of equation? 2 to which power I should take raise in order to get 32. So in this case, you see that unknown now is exponent, right? So previously unknown was the result, but now unknown is exponent. So basically another way to rewrite this is you could write it as logarithm base 2, 32 equals to which exponent, right? So now this x goes as an answer, and answer of a logarithm is an exponent. And here they're asking us 2 to which power I should raise in order to get 200. You cannot right away answer, because if you take the powers of 2, it's going to be something like this, like 2 to the power of 7. If I'm not wrong, it's like 128. And 2 to the power of 8 is the same as 256, right? So logarithm base 2, 200 is somewhere around, all right, I'm running out of battery. So it's somewhere around, let me write here, logarithm base 2, 200. It's of course less than logarithm base 2, 256, because we know that the logarithm base 2, 256, this is the same as 8, right? Because 2 to the power of 8 gives you 256. Then it is more than logarithm base 2, 128. You know that 2 to the power of 7 give you 128, right? So basically logarithm is between these numbers. So we are approximating it. I cannot tell you like the real value, what is, but it's somewhere between 7 and 8. Let's approximate it 7.5, I don't know, right? And the answer is D. It says, which of the largest natural number is smaller than log base 2 200? And 7 is smaller than 7.5. And this is the answer. All right, I'll give you problem on reasoning part. Okay, thank you. So in this problem, you just have to choose which of the diagrams, basically these are the Venn diagrams, which of the diagram corresponds to these statements, to this relationship of the numbers. I see. Okay. So it's not really visible, but I'll try to make it like this. So I zoomed it maximum. And so these are the multiples of 4, and this is the multiple of 8. These are the divisors of 20, and these are the odd numbers. And this is the divisor of 20, odd number, multiple of 4, and multiple of 8. Multiple of 8, multiple of 4, divisor of 20, and odd number. So this is 8, 4, divisor of 20, and odd numbers. Odd, divisor of 20, divisor of 8, and divisor of, no, this is the multiple of 8 and multiple of 4. So in order to solve this problem, we just need to understand what means number is multiple of 4, multiple of 8, and divisor of 20. So odd numbers is just like 3, 5, 7, and so on and so forth. So I'll give you some time. Maybe I'll give you some hint. Multiples of 4 are the numbers that are divided by 4, and there are no remainder. For example, 4 is divisible by 4, 8 is divisible by 4, 12 is divisible by 4, 16 is divisible by 4, and so on and so forth, right? The same for multiples of 8. These are the numbers that are divisible by 8. It could be 8, it could be 16, it could be 24, it could be 32, and so on and so forth. Divisors of 20, these are the numbers that could be, numbers like 20, for which number it's divisible. For example, for 5, 20 is divisible for 4, 20 is divisible for 10, 20 is divisible for 2. So these are the divisors of 20. So let me write 2. I think 1 as well, right? Because 20 is divisible by 1. So you write 1, 2, 4, 5, and 10. So these are the divisors of 20. So now try to think about it. What relation is true out of these 5? Most of you answered 5. Actually, odd numbers and divisors of 20 have something in common. For example, look, odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on and so forth. So there is intersection between divisors of 20, for example, 1 and 5, and odd numbers, right? So they have something in common. So that's why they should be like on top of each other. Like there should be something in intersection. I'll give you one more hint. Basically, multiples of 4 and multiples of 8, these are the even numbers, right? And between even number and odd number, there should be nothing in common, right? Because odd is not even. So that's why number 4 is for sure wrong, because odd numbers and even numbers could not have something in common. All right, so most of the members left the conference. I think like 10 people left, since it was like hard problem and they gave up, unfortunately. So let me just try to explain you how to solve this problem until all of you leave out the conference. In order to solve this problem, first of all, you have to see relationship of the multiples of 4 and multiples of 8. Look, 4, 8, 12, 16, and look at this number, 8, 16, 24, and 32. Actually, if you try to use Venn diagram, I will not introduce what's the Venn diagram, but just I will assume that you know. If I draw it something in this way, so these are the multiples of 4. So these are numbers 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and so on and so forth, right? Then what if I draw it something like this, multiples of 8, which are inside? So the smaller circle is the multiples of 8. And multiples of 8 are the numbers like 8, 16, 24, 32, and so on and so forth. And do you agree that all multiples of 8 are the multiples of 4? Like all these numbers, 8, 16, 24, 32, are also divisible by 4, right? But not all multiples of 4 are the multiples of 8. So this is the difference. For example, 4 is not multiple of 8, 12 is not multiple of 8, 20 is not multiple of 8, right? And so on and so forth. So this is the relationship of those two. Now, what is the relationship between odd numbers and multiples of 8 and multiples of 4? Do you agree that they don't have anything in common? So there is nothing like non-numbers that are in common between even numbers and between odd numbers, because multiples of 4 and multiples of 8, all of them are even. So let me write these are the odd numbers. And then we go for the divisors of 20. Divisors of 20 is the set of these numbers, 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, because those numbers could be divided by, like, we could divide those numbers to 20. For example, 20 divided by 1, 20 divided by 5, and so on and so forth. There are some odd numbers in the divisors of 20. And there is 20, right? This one. 20, and there is 4. I'll write it here. So these are the divisors of 20. Except 20 and 4, I think I've just forgot to add 20 here. Except 20 and 4. There you have 10. You have 5, which is here. You have 1, which is here, and so on and so forth. And this is the answer. So it should look something like this. So let's see if we have this one. And this is the choice number 1. So this one is correct. Right, and I mean, this is the difficulty of the test. These are like possible problems that you might have on the test. And actually, by the way, I was sharing the link for the course. So I'm teaching the CEnT-S preparation course where we have 16 total classes where we study math and reasoning on text and data, and maybe I'll show you some notes. For example, this is the November group, and this is how our classes are usually going. So we go for a class, we study some concepts, and then we solve problems relevant to those concepts. All the concepts are based from the official site and based from my own experience. And yeah. So if you're planning to join for a course, the next group is starting around 10th of December. So you still have time to join for December group. And yeah, now I think we can go for the question session.